It's completely unacceptable for either the government or the private sector to impose upon you the requirement that you show proof of vaccine to just simply be able to participate in normal society. People have certain freedoms and individual liberties to make decisions for themselves. I also wonder, it's like, okay, you're going to do this, and then what, give all this information to some big corporation? You want the fox to guard the hen house? I mean, give me a break.
Strong words from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis this week about the so-called vaccine passport and what it could mean for you and your family. Former White House press secretary and co-host of Outnumbered, Kayleigh McEnany, joins me now to react. All right, good evening, Kayleigh. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good evening.
Is the governor, Ron DeSantis, correct in his analysis of the government having no right or businesses having no right to demand this?
Yeah, Governor DeSantis is exactly right, as he has been all throughout this pandemic. You know, we've seen this modeled for the last year, the freedom model of dealing with the pandemic, which is embodied by Florida and Ron DeSantis, and then the coercion control model embodied by Governor Newsom of California and Governor Cuomo of New York. And look who turned out to be right all along. The freedom model, allowing people to live their lives without mask mandates, without onerous regulations and lockdowns that go on and on and on, closing churches. And now this vaccine passport is just another way to control the American people. It's absolutely wrong. It's antithetical to freedom. It's antithetical to the American way, and good for Governor DeSantis for recognizing it.
Well, there's no question that Governor DeSantis has proven himself to not only have the correct analysis of the way to protect the people of Florida, who, by the way, are so proud of him. But, his example that this is going to create a list that will be accessible, data and information that might be used for the wrong reasons. What do you think he's thinking of there?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, this is allowing the government potentially to come and get your private medical information with the vaccine passport, private companies as well. It sets a terrible precedent. And if we do this now, does it open the door to more passports for flu vaccines, for instance, or other maladies that might not be the same as COVID? But is it opening a door to that? It's certainly possible. And I would just say the very obvious comparison here between Democrats not wanting an identification to show up and vote. They say that's too hard for people to get. You can't get an ID. Well, it's much more difficult to get a vaccine passport, especially when you consider they're thinking of doing these with QR codes on smartphones. Think about how hard that would be for some people to maintain. It would create a complete inequity, and Democrats are hypocritical for supporting one but not the other in terms of voter ID.
Well, and in fact, that is such a good point, and it was my next question. I mean, it's too hard to have a voter identification to vote, but, let's get a passport that it involves so much more so that you can go to a building, get on an airplane, get on a subway, be on a regular train, go into certain buildings. It is crazy. But you see, this is a continuation of that fear control factor. And
yes.
Let's talk about, there is now talk of the vaccine becoming even more dangerous with, a strain from Brazil. What do you think the chances are, or what the intentions are, of the Democrat governors who've consistently closed us down, for example, New York, California, and New Jersey, and who closed businesses down, and we have the highest COVID rates?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're using that fear control factor, as you noted. Look, I'm a believer in vaccines. I think it's a good thing to go out and get, but to seize upon that notion and then say, we're going to require you to register or to give your health information, it's a bridge too far. And we've seen this every step of the way where they move the goalposts. We were told, get vaccinated, then you're good. You get vaccinated and they're like, oh, you can't go back to normal life here. You still need to lock yourself down, or, maybe you can't hug your relatives yet, or maybe you still need to wear 2 masks. I mean, this is insanity. You can't keep moving the goalposts. We've learned how to handle this pandemic. Americans are smart. I live in a state that doesn't require masks, but I still see people wearing them. It's because it's self-responsibility, something that I have faith in the American people. Apparently, Cuomo does not, and others, and Biden.
All right, exactly. It's all about taking responsibility for yourself. Kayleigh McEnany, it's so good to have you on Justice.